The sky above Earth changed forever on a Tuesday morning. Captain Samantha Miller floated near the viewport of the International Space Station, sipping her morning coffee from a sealed container. She nearly choked when the alarm blared and her coffee escaped in small spheres throughout the module. Unknown objects approaching Earth orbit, the station's computer announced in its calm voice, calculating trajectory. Samantha rushed to the communication station. The objects were massive, each larger than any spacecraft humans had ever built. Their metallic surfaces reflected sunlight in patterns that seemed impossible. They moved with precision that defied known physics. "Houston, are you seeing this?" she asked, her voice steady despite her racing heart. The response came with unusual delay. "We see them, Captain. Stand by." Within hours, screens worldwide displayed the same image. 7 massive ships positioned themselves in Earth's orbit. News channels interrupted regular programming. Social media exploded with theories, fear, and fascination. At NASA headquarters, Dr. Alan Hayes rushed through security checkpoints. As America's leading xenolinguist, his theoretical work on alien communication suddenly became extremely practical. Security guards escorted him to a room filled with military officers and government officials staring at screens. "They're broadcasting something," said a technician. "It's aimed directly at us." The message repeated across all frequencies and in all languages simultaneously. The alien translator wasn't perfect, but the meaning was clear. Earth must surrender. The alien, who identified himself as High Counselor HFY of the Taldorian Empire, appeared humanoid, but with blue-tinted skin and eyes that reflected light like a cat's. He spoke with absolute authority. "Your planet occupies valuable space in a strategic sector. The Galactic Council requires this territory. You have 30 Earth rotations to evacuate. Resistance is inadvisable." Major John Peterson of the newly formed U.S. Space Force was assigned as humanity's first contact specialist. He arranged to speak with the aliens from a secure facility. "With respect, High Counselor," Peterson said, maintaining a diplomatic tone, "Earth is our home. We cannot and will not abandon it. Perhaps we can discuss alternatives that benefit both our peoples." The alien delegation viewed Peterson through their communication screen. The secondary alien, identified as Krellmore, made a sound that their translator converted to laughter. "Primitive mammals unworthy of space travel dare to negotiate. Your species barely understands atomic energy. You have nothing to offer the Council." Peterson kept his expression neutral despite the insult. "We may surprise you." The United Nations Security Council convened an emergency session. For the first time in decades, representatives from every nation agreed on one thing: Earth would not surrender. President Elizabeth Warren addressed the alien delegation with the unified response: "Earth respectfully declines your demand. We invite peaceful dialogue, but will defend our home if necessary." High Counselor HFY's expression didn't change. "Your choice is unfortunate but anticipated. In 30 rotations, our cleansing fleet will arrive. They will make this world habitable for proper civilizations." As the alien ships moved away from direct orbit, one fired a focused energy beam. The European communications satellite Artemis IV exploded into thousands of pieces, creating a debris field that threatened other satellites. "A small demonstration," HFY explained. "Your technology is fragile. Your defenses are non-existent. Reconsider." The communication ended. Silence filled the room at NASA headquarters until Dr. Hayes spoke. "They underestimate us," he said quietly. "Did you notice? They think we're simple because our technology differs from theirs. That's a weakness we can exploit." Major Peterson nodded. "Every military strategist knows that underestimating your enemy is the first step toward defeat." Around the world, initial panic transformed into something unexpected. Humans began preparing. Scientists analyzed every second of alien footage. Military commands shared information that had been classified for decades. Engineers worldwide connected through secure channels to discuss possibilities. Captain Miller, still aboard the space station, sent a private message to NASA. They didn't even bother to hide their propulsion technology. I've recorded everything. We can learn from this. The Galactic Council had just made their first mistake. They had given humanity time to prepare. And humanity was far more resourceful than they could possibly imagine. The world changed overnight. Nations that had been enemies for generations now shared military secrets freely. Scientists who once competed for funding now worked side by side. In 29 days, the alien cleansing fleet would arrive, and Earth needed to be ready. President Elizabeth Warren stood before a table where the leaders of China, Russia, India, and 20 other nations sat together. The emergency summit took place in a secure underground facility beneath the Swiss Alps. "We must unite as a single force," she said. "Our differences mean nothing if we all die together." The Russian president nodded slowly. "We will share our advanced missile defense systems." The Chinese premier added, "And our quantum communication technology is at your disposal." Meanwhile, in a small lab in Montana, Dr. William Clark worked without sleep. Before the alien arrival, he had been considered a mad scientist for his theories about energy shields. Now the government gave him unlimited resources. His fingers trembled as he adjusted the final component of his prototype. "It might work," he told his assistant. "The aliens use similar principles in their ship hulls. We just need to reverse the polarity." At the Pentagon, Lieutenant Olivia Rodriguez stared at her computer screen. As a cybersecurity expert, she had been tasked with analyzing the alien transmission data. "Sir," she called to her commander, "they sent us more than just a message. Their transmission contained their entire communication protocols. They didn't even encrypt it." Her commander leaned closer. "Can we use this?" Olivia smiled for the first time in days. "We can hack their ships." In orbit, the remnants of the destroyed Artemis 4 satellite provided valuable information. Engineers at NASA discovered alien metals that absorbed radiation in ways Earth science had only theorized about. They immediately began incorporating this knowledge into defensive designs. Colonel Kevin Barnes trained his Special Forces team in the Nevada desert. The warehouse-sized room contained a zero-gravity simulator based on technology reverse-engineered from the alien ships. "They'll have the advantage in space," he told his soldiers as they floated awkwardly. "But we adapt faster. Learn to use their gravity against them." All across the globe, civilian engineers contributed ideas through a secure online platform. A truck driver from Brazil suggested using commercial satellites as decoys. A teenage girl from Kenya developed an algorithm that predicted alien movement patterns based on their ship formations. The Galactic Council observed these preparations from afar. High Counselor Zixvora watched the humans scurrying about on their monitoring screens. "How amusing," he said to his advisors. "They build toys to fight our warships." Krellmore laughed. "Should we tell them we've destroyed 17 civilizations more advanced than theirs?" "Let them have hope," Zixvora replied. "It makes the cleansing more efficient when they resist in predictable ways." But not all council members agreed. Officer Zexkara studied human behavior patterns with growing concern. "They're unusually adaptable," she reported. "Most species panic when faced with extinction. These humans are becoming more organized." Her warning was dismissed as unnecessary caution. The council had never failed to conquer a target world. Back on Earth, Dr. Clark's shield test succeeded beyond expectations. When hit with a concentrated laser blast, the shield not only absorbed the energy, but redirected it. Lieutenant Rodriguez's team successfully created a virus that could infiltrate alien communication systems. They couldn't test it yet, but the simulations were promising. Nuclear weapons from around the world were retrofitted with new guidance systems designed to penetrate alien defenses. Former enemy nations coordinated their launch protocols under a unified command structure. Captain Samantha Miller, still aboard the space station, helped coordinate the rapidly expanding orbital defense grid. Satellites were repositioned, and weapons systems that had been kept secret for decades were finally deployed openly. As the deadline approached, President Warren addressed the world again. "We have 24 hours until the enemy arrives. We may not win this first battle, But we will show them that humanity does not surrender. We will show them their mistake. Across the Earth, humans prepared for war. They were afraid, but that fear had transformed into fierce determination. The Galactic Council had never faced an enemy like humanity before. They were about to learn what that meant. The alien ships appeared without warning. One moment the sky was empty, the next it filled with hundreds of spacecraft. They emerged from what scientists later called fold space, stepping from one point in the universe to another without traveling the distance between. Admiral Susan Taylor watched from Lunar Base Armstrong as the alien fleet spread across Earth's orbit. The hastily established command center buzzed with tense activity. "They're sending a message," announced her communications officer. The alien commander, a tall figure with ridged purple skin, appeared on screen. "I am Fleet Commander Volthrak of the Galactic Council Cleansing Force. Your time is up. Surrender now, and we will allow 10% of your population to relocate to labor colonies." Admiral Taylor's response was simple. "We decline your offer. We are ready to defend our home." Volthrak's facial tentacles twitched in what humans would later learn was amusement. "Very well. Cleansing begins now." The alien fleet moved into attack formation. Their largest ships opened fire on Earth's new orbital defense grid. They expected the primitive human satellites to disintegrate instantly. Instead, Dr. Clark's shields activated. The experimental technology wasn't perfect. Several defense platforms were destroyed, but most absorbed the energy and remained operational. "Impossible," muttered Volthrak as he received damage reports. "Their technology is too primitive for energy absorption." Lieutenant Rodriguez, from her underground bunker in Colorado, initiated her virus program. 2 alien destroyers suddenly lost power and drifted out of formation. Their weapon systems fired randomly, hitting other alien vessels. "What is happening?" demanded Volthrak, his confidence faltering for the first time. Captain Frank Martinez commanded the U.S. Defiant, Earth's first true space battleship built using reverse-engineered alien technology. The vessel was smaller than the alien ships, but moved with surprising speed. "All weapons hot," ordered Martinez. "Target their propulsion systems." The Defiant fired, its advanced missiles penetrating the alien shields where they didn't expect attacks. 3 enemy ships lost maneuvering capability. Across the globe, civilians operated drone swarms. Millions of small, simple drones flew into space. Individually, they posed no threat. Together, they confused alien targeting systems and created openings for military strikes. Volthrak couldn't understand what he was seeing. The humans were fighting with unexpected coordination and effectiveness. Their weapons shouldn't work. Their shields shouldn't exist. It violated everything the Council knew about technological development patterns. Major Peterson led a daring mission. His team, trained in zero-gravity combat by Colonel Barnes, boarded one of the disabled alien cruisers. They moved through the ship in specialized suits, engaging alien defenders in close combat. "They're not prepared for hand-to-hand fighting," Peterson told his team over the radio. "Use that advantage." The humans secured the alien engineering section. They downloaded vital technical data and captured 3 alien officers, including officers ex-Kara. On the lunar command base, Admiral Taylor watched the battle unfold. Earth was taking heavy damage. Several major cities had been hit. The defense grid was failing in multiple sectors. But the aliens were also suffering unprecedented losses. 40% of their fleet is disabled or destroyed, reported her tactical officer with disbelief. They're beginning to retreat. Volthrak faced a difficult decision. The Council had sent him with what they considered minimum necessary force, enough to handle a primitive pre-space civilization. No cleansing fleet had ever failed its mission before. "Tactical withdrawal," he finally ordered. "Regroup at the rally point." As the alien ships retreated, humans celebrated their first victory, but the cost had been enormous. Millions dead, cities in ruins, most of Earth's new defense systems destroyed. In a secure holding facility, Officer Zexkara watched her human captors with new interest. They treated her injuries and provided food compatible with her biology. "Why do you care for my well-being?" she asked Dr. Nicole Porter, the xenobiologist assigned to the alien prisoners. "Because that's what humans do," Porter replied simply. Zexkara considered this. The Council had taught that humans were violent, primitive creatures. Yet these humans showed complexity and compassion that contradicted everything she had been told. As both sides regrouped, one thing became clear: the real war had only just begun. News of the failed invasion spread quickly through the vast Galactic Council network. No cleansing fleet had ever been defeated in the Council's 5,000-year history. The highest levels of alien government called emergency sessions to discuss what they called the human problem. High Counselor Zixbora faced harsh questions from representatives of the 17 major species that formed the Council. "How could primitives defeat our advanced technology?" demanded the delegate from the Freck Dominion, a reptilian species known for their military might. "It was merely a setback," Zixbora insisted. "We sent only a standard cleansing force. We will deploy our main battle fleet next." Not all Council members agreed with this approach. The Andromedan Confederacy, long opposed to Council expansion policies, saw an opportunity in the human resistance. "Perhaps we should reconsider this action," suggested their ambassador, a tall being made of crystalline structures. "These humans show unusual potential." Meanwhile, Earth prepared for the next attack. Ambassador Greg Daniels, formerly a history professor specializing in conflict resolution, traveled to neutral space station Nexus 7. This massive structure existed in disputed territory between Council space and independent systems. Greg's mission was simple but dangerous: find allies among the stars. He brought evidence of Earth's fight against overwhelming odds. Many alien traders and diplomats at the station watched the battle recordings with growing interest. "The Council told everyone you were mindless animals," said a merchant from the trading species known as the Volari. "But no animals fight like this." Back on Earth, Officer Zexkara revealed important information to her human captors. Dr. Nicole Porter had spent weeks building trust with the alien prisoner. "Your world was not targeted only for its strategic position," Zexkara finally admitted. "Earth contains rare minerals essential for Council technology. They want your resources, not just your territory." This revelation changed humanity's understanding of the conflict. They weren't just fighting for survival, but to prevent their planet from being stripped bare. Dr. Porter learned more about alien psychology through these conversations. She discovered that most Council species had evolved in stable environments, making them less adaptable than humans. Their rigid thinking could be exploited. "They expect us to act in certain ways," she explained to military leaders. "When we don't follow their patterns, it confuses them." In Council space, several member species began to question the war. The Beak-Theri, peaceful energy beings who valued knowledge above all else, formally voted to withdraw support. "The cost is too high for a single world," they declared. "Let the humans keep their planet." This decision angered the more aggressive Council members. The Taldorian Empire and Vrek Dominion committed their elite forces to the next attack on Earth. They couldn't allow a primitive species to successfully resist the Council. On Nexus 7, Ambassador Daniels made a surprising discovery. He met representatives from 3 species that had faced Council cleansing operations in the past. Unlike Earth, they had been conquered. Small groups of survivors lived as refugees in neutral territory. "We can help you," said a small, 6-limbed being named Rilkor. "We know Council tactics. We know their weaknesses." Daniels established an alliance with these formerly subjugated species. They provided technical knowledge and strategic advice that would prove invaluable. Lieutenant Rodriguez worked with these new allies to improve her hacking methods. Colonel Barnes incorporated their combat techniques into his training programs. As both sides prepared for the next confrontation, Zexkara made a personal decision. After weeks observing humans, she no longer believed Council propaganda about their primitive nature. Your people value individual choice, she told Dr. Porter. The Council says this makes you weak, but I see that it makes you strong. You find many solutions where we would see only one path. The Council was mobilizing its largest military force in centuries. They expected to overwhelm Earth with sheer numbers and firepower. But they still didn't understand what they were truly facing: a species that thrived on challenge and grew stronger with every obstacle. 3 months after the first attack, the main Galactic Council fleet arrived. Over 2,000 warships appeared in Earth's solar system. They didn't immediately approach Earth. Instead, they methodically destroyed human outposts on Mars and the Moon first. Admiral Susan Taylor watched from Lunar Base Armstrong as the alien armada approached. She had already evacuated most personnel, but remained behind with a skeleton crew to coordinate Earth's defense. They're taking their time, she told her officers. They learned from their first mistake. No more underestimating us. The massive fleet finally moved toward Earth, led by the Council's most advanced dreadnought, a planet-killer-class vessel that dwarfed all other ships. From her command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Taylor directed humanity's response. The orbital defense grid had been rebuilt and improved. Dr. Clark's shield technology now protected major cities worldwide. All units in position, reported her second-in-command. Weapons hot. The battle began with an overwhelming alien barrage. Thousands of energy weapons fired simultaneously, testing Earth's defenses. The shields held, but power grids across the planet strained to maintain them. Captain Frank Martinez commanded a fleet of 30 Earth vessels, each built using technology from the first battle. They were still outnumbered 60-1. Focus fire on their command ships, he ordered. Use the sun's gravity for slingshot maneuvers. Don't let them predict your course. Lieutenant Rodriguez activated her improved computer virus. It didn't work as well as before. The aliens had updated their systems, but still managed to disable dozens of enemy ships. On the ground, Sergeant Kyle Murphy led defense forces in Chicago as alien landing craft broke through the weakening shields. The aliens had never planned for ground combat, considering it beneath them. This proved to be another mistake. They expect us to fight in open areas, Murphy told his soldiers. Use the buildings, use the sewers, never be where they expect. Humans fought with desperate creativity. Civilian drone swarms sacrificed themselves to protect military assets. Taxi drivers became battlefield transporters. Ordinary people joined the fight with whatever weapons they could find. Aboard the Council flagship, Fleet Commander Volthrak watched with growing frustration. Deploy the core disruptor, he finally ordered. End this resistance once and for all. The planet killer weapon powered up, aiming a concentrated beam at Earth's core. If successful, it would destabilize the entire planet, causing it to break apart within hours. Dr. William Clark had anticipated this weapon. For weeks, he had worked on a gravitational disruptor designed to deflect such an attack. But his calculations showed a terrible cost. Whoever activated the device wouldn't survive. There's no other way, he told Admiral Taylor over a secure channel. I need to calibrate it manually as the beam hits. Taylor closed her eyes briefly. Understood, Doctor. Your sacrifice will save billions. When the alien beam fired, Dr. Clark activated his device from a small station in Antarctica. The beam hit his disruptor first, creating a massive energy reaction that bent space itself. A wormhole formed, unexpected and unstable. The gravitational distortion saved Earth's core, but created a new problem. The wormhole began pulling in nearby ships from both sides. Dozens of alien vessels disappeared into the swirling vortex. Then something unexpected emerged from the wormhole, a fleet of unfamiliar ships. They immediately attacked the Council forces. This is Fleet Captain Jorkal of the Resistance, came a transmission to Earth's command center. We are former victims of Council aggression. We've been waiting centuries for this opportunity. The Council forces found themselves caught between two enemies. Their carefully planned attack descended into chaos. On Earth, The shields were failing. Cities burned. Millions had died. But the unexpected allies turned the tide of the battle. After 14 hours of continuous fighting, the remaining Council ships began to retreat. They had lost over half their fleet, with little to show for it. As the battle ended, the unstable wormhole collapsed, but not before Dr. Clark's final transmission reached Earth. Remember, adaptation is our strength. Keep changing. Keep surviving. Humanity had won a second victory, but at enormous cost. The real question now was what would come next. 2 weeks after the second battle, Earth's military leaders gathered in the underground command center. The room was silent as Admiral Taylor outlined her bold new plan. "We cannot win a defensive war," she said, pointing to the holographic display of Council territory. "Our resources are limited. Their production capacity is vastly superior. We must take the fight to them." Captain Martinez studied the star maps. "How? We barely have enough ships to defend Earth." Admiral Taylor smiled. "We have something they don't expect. A stable wormhole." Dr. Porter's team had discovered that the wormhole created by Dr. Clark's sacrifice hadn't completely collapsed. A small, stable passage remained, hidden in the outer solar system. It connected directly to Council space. "This is our chance," Admiral Taylor continued. "A small force can slip through and strike their key production facilities. We don't need to win. We just need to create chaos." The plan was dangerous but necessary. Earth couldn't survive another massive attack. Their only hope was to disrupt the Council's ability to organize another invasion force. Captain Martinez volunteered to lead the mission. His ship, the U.S. Defiant, had been damaged in the last battle, but was still operational. 5 other vessels would join him, each carrying Special Forces teams trained by Colonel Barnes. Lieutenant Rodriguez uploaded her newest virus programs to the mission ships. "This version targets their production systems," she explained. "It will make their factories build defective weapons." Officer Zexkara, now openly allied with humans, provided critical intelligence. "The Council relies on these 3 manufacturing hubs," she said, marking locations on the star map. "Without them, they cannot build their largest warships." On Nexus 7, Ambassador Daniels worked to expand the alliance against the Council. The news of Earth's second victory had spread throughout the galaxy, inspiring other species to question Council authority. "The Council has ruled through fear for too long," Daniels told representatives from 20 independent worlds. "Earth has proven they are not invincible." The Andromedan Confederacy officially broke from the Council and pledged support to Earth. Their advanced stealth technology would prove vital in the coming operations. Dr. Porter developed a new strategy based on her study of alien psychology. "Most Council species evolved in stable environments with clear hierarchies," she explained. "Their societies don't handle uncertainty well. We need to create confusion, not just destroy their assets." As Earth prepared its counteroffensive, the Council faced internal division. High Counselor Zixbora struggled to maintain control as more member species questioned the war. "These humans must be destroyed," he insisted to the Council Assembly. "If one primitive species successfully resists us, others will follow." The Taldorian Empire and Freck Dominion remained loyal, committing their personal fleets to a third attack on Earth. But 7 other Council species now declared neutrality, refusing to contribute further resources. Captain Martinez led his small fleet through the wormhole. The journey was harrowing. Intense gravitational forces threatened to tear the ships apart, but they emerged intact in Council space, deep behind enemy lines. "No signs of detection," reported his tactical officer. "Their sensors aren't looking for ships coming from this direction." The Earth fleet split into 3 groups, each targeting a different manufacturing hub. Martinez led the attack on the largest facility, a massive space station orbiting a red giant star. "Remember," he told his crew, "we're not here to fight fair. We hit them where they're vulnerable, then disappear." Sergeant Murphy led the ground team that boarded the station. His soldiers moved through the alien facility like ghosts, planting explosives and sabotage devices. They build everything assuming no one would dare attack them, Murphy observed as they easily bypassed security systems. When the coordinated strikes began, the Council was completely unprepared. Production facilities exploded. Supply ships were hijacked. Computer systems crashed with messages in human languages flashing on alien screens. Earth sends its regards. The counteroffensive achieved more than anyone had hoped. The Council's carefully organized war machine began to sputter. For the first time in its long history, the mighty Galactic Council faced an enemy that fought in ways they couldn't predict or counter. As his ship slipped away from the burning station, Captain Martin had sent a simple message back to Earth: Operation Payback successful. The bullies are learning their lesson. 6 months into the war, the Galactic Council faced a crisis unlike any in its 5,000-year history. The once unified government of 17 major species now fractured along deep divisions. 9 species had declared neutrality. 3 had openly joined Earth's alliance. Only 5 remained committed to the war, led by the increasingly desperate High Counselor Zix-4. Captain Martinez's guerrilla campaign continued to strike Council supply lines rather than military assets. His fleet, now expanded to 20 ships with alien allies, appeared without warning through temporary wormholes, attacked vulnerable targets, and disappeared before response forces arrived. "We don't need to destroy their military," Martinez explained to his mixed crew of humans and alien allies. "We just need to make it impossible for them to use it effectively." During an attack on a fuel processing facility, Martinez discovered ancient records in the station's database. He immediately transmitted the files to Earth for analysis. Dr. Porter studied the records with growing excitement. "These texts suggest humans are descendants of a precursor race," she told Admiral Taylor during an emergency briefing. "A species the Council feared and thought they had eliminated thousands of years ago." This revelation explained why Earth had been targeted so aggressively. The Council hadn't just wanted resources. They had recognized something in human DNA that triggered ancient warnings in their historical records. Ambassador Daniels used this information in his diplomatic campaign. 3 more Council species declared neutrality after learning this truth, unwilling to continue a war based on lies from their leadership. Lieutenant Rodriguez developed a new strategy using the Council's own communication network. Her team broadcast evidence of Council leadership deception directly to citizens across thousands of worlds. "The common people of these species don't want this war," she said. "They've been told we're dangerous animals, not that we're fighting for our survival." The broadcasts included footage of human culture, art, and peaceful achievements alongside images of Earth's devastated cities. The message was clear: humans were a civilization worth knowing, not destroying. On the Taldorian homeworld, once loyal citizens began questioning the war. Public protests erupted in major cities for the first time in their rigid society's history. High Counselor Zix-4 faced a rebellion within his own government. "We cannot stop now," he insisted to his increasingly doubtful advisors. "If these humans truly carry precursor genes, they will eventually threaten our entire way of life." But his authority weakened daily. The Council's unified fleet command structure collapsed as species withdrew their ships, accusing each other of poor strategy and wasted resources. Officer Zexkara returned to her homeworld with a dangerous mission. She carried proof of Council leadership's lies and planned to present it to her people's governing assembly. "I may not survive this," she told Dr. Porter before leaving Earth. "But my people deserve to know the truth about humans and about this war." Her broadcast reached billions before security forces shut it down. The evidence sparked immediate unrest among her people, who had long prided themselves on their society's commitment to truth and justice. Admiral Taylor directed Earth's forces with growing confidence. The human fleet, though still smaller than the remaining Council forces, now operated with superior intelligence and the element of surprise. "They expected us to fight like them," she told her officers. "Their mistake was thinking there's only one way to wage war." The once mighty Council military found itself fighting on multiple fronts, against Earth's forces, against former council members who now supported the humans, and increasingly against their own citizens who demanded an end to the costly conflict. Sergeant Murphy, leading a mixed human-alien special forces team, captured a council intelligence facility containing battle plans for a final desperate attack on Earth. The plans revealed that High Counselor Zixvora planned to use forbidden weapons that would destroy not just humans, but all life on the planet. "This isn't about winning anymore," Murphy reported to Admiral Taylor. "It's about making sure nothing of value remains if they lose." As both sides prepared for what might be the final confrontation, one thing became clear: the Galactic Council's greatest mistake hadn't been attacking Earth. Their greatest mistake had been believing their own propaganda about human weakness and primitiveness. Humanity had not just survived. They had changed the galaxy forever. The final battle for Earth began with a desperate gamble. High Counselor Zixvora, now commanding just a fraction of the original Council forces, launched his attack with the forbidden planet killer weapons. His remaining loyal followers believed victory was still possible against the troublesome humans. They were wrong. Admiral Taylor had prepared for this moment. Earth's defense grid now incorporated technology from 6 different allied species. The shields that once barely held against standard weapons now easily deflected the deadly beams. "They're still underestimating us," Taylor told her officers as they watched the enemy fleet approach. "Even now, they think we haven't adapted." Captain Martinez led the counterattack, commanding a fleet that would have been unimaginable months earlier. Human ships flew alongside vessels from former Council species, all united against Zixvora's forces. On the Council flagship, Zixvora received shocking news. Officer Zexkara had not been silenced after all. Her message had spread throughout her homeworld, triggering a full government collapse. Their fleet had just withdrawn from his command. "We are betrayed by cowards," he raged to his remaining officers. "We will still prevail. Launch all remaining weapons." But the tide had already turned decisively. Lieutenant Rodriguez's most advanced virus disabled the weapons systems on half the Council vessels before they could fire. Sergeant Murphy's Special Forces teams, inserted into key enemy ships days earlier, began sabotaging engines and communication systems from within. The battle lasted only 6 hours. When it ended, High Counselor Zixvora stood in chains before a mixed tribunal of humans and former Council species. "You should have left us alone," Admiral Taylor told him simply. "That was your mistake." 2 months later, Ambassador Daniels represented Earth at the signing of the new Galactic Charter. The massive chamber on Nexus 7 contained representatives from over 50 species, including all former Council members. "We gather today not as conquerors or the conquered," Daniels addressed the assembly, "but as equals who have learned a valuable lesson. Diversity is strength. Different paths of evolution and technology all have value. No species has the right to declare another unworthy of existence." The new charter established protections for all developing civilizations. It forbade invasion or interference with any inhabited world. Most importantly, it replaced the hierarchical council with a representative forum where all member species had equal voice. Dr. Porter's research into cross-species psychology became the foundation for new diplomatic protocols. Her work helped bridge fundamental differences in how various species thought and communicated. "We don't need to think alike to work together," she explained to the first class of multi-species diplomats. "We just need to understand our differences." Lieutenant Rodriguez led the technological exchange program that shared innovations among member worlds. "No more keeping secrets," she told the Scientific Council. "Progress comes faster when we collaborate." Sergeant Murphy established a defense academy on Mars where soldiers from dozens of species trained together. "We learn from each other," he told his first class. "Every species has unique strengths and perspectives." Captain Martinez commanded the first human-built exploration vessel designed to map unknown regions beyond former Council space. Its crew included members from 15 different species. "We're not just exploring space," he told them as they prepared for their first mission. "We're exploring new ways of working together." Officer Zexkara, now ambassador from her reformed world, worked closely with Admiral Taylor on the Galactic Security Council. Their unlikely friendship symbolized the new era of cooperation. 10 years after the war ended, alien historians taught students across the galaxy about what they called the human lesson. The lesson was simple: never judge a species by its apparent level of technology. Judge them instead by their creativity, adaptability, and determination. The Galactic Council had declared war on Earth, thinking humans were primitive, easy targets. Their fatal mistake had transformed the galaxy, replacing an empire of fear with a community of equals. And humanity, once confined to a single world, now looked to the stars not with fear but with hope. They had not just survived. They had helped create something better than what came before. As Admiral Taylor often reminded new recruits, the stars belong to all of us together.